Welcome to a closed pub. I'm going to try and keep my venues changing when possible for filming, because it kind of keeps it a bit visually interesting. And here's a place that has a lot of depth and some interesting features, so quite pleased with here. We've also had a lot of carpentry work going on this week, so I like to pop down after the guys have finished and just appreciate the work that's taken place. And they are skilled craftsmen, and the new bar extension is looking fantastic. Very pleased. First off, let's resolve last week's cliffhanger. There was no action based on me using copyright music in that video. YouTube flagged it and it's identified it as copyrighted content, but there was no action as a consequence. And I've since, having done some more research, noticed some other YouTubers using what's clearly copyright music, such as Lana Del Rey, in their videos, not just under a fair usage guise, but as the soundtrack to their video. And I'm not quite sure how they're getting away with that, but in the description of their videos, I see that the artist and publishers are cited. So I'd like to find out a bit more about that, because if I could use well-known music in my work, that kind of makes that can really change the character of the piece of work. Just having a song that people are familiar with, or even just a voice that people are familiar with, can add to a video. I definitely wouldn't want to do that though if I unwittingly compromise the viability or usefulness of my channel down the line. It's hard to say. I don't really have enough knowledge to understand how reckless or fine that is. I mean, I know I got away with it on the last video, but it was, I don't know, kind of low-key and unobtrusive. So who knows? Have to do a bit more research, I guess. But it would be great. Imagine if I could use Lana Del Rey in my videos, they would pop. Not that Epidemic Sounds doesn't have great artists and songs available, but the downside is that they're not very recognizable. They sort of sound half familiar in an uncanny kind of way, rather than being able to hear it and place it immediately. So, as ever, watch this space. Today's video might sound a bit strange because the acoustics in this place are very different from at home. It's a great big space with a lot of reverb, there's a lot of glass and hard surfaces. Another reason it might sound a little different is because I'm using a different audio setup. Normally I use a mic on camera, but today I'm using a new Tentacle Track E lavalier lav mic, lapel mic, which should make audio a lot easier in theory. This week was really fun. At very short notice, a client asked me to go up to the North Coast and shoot some content for their Pancake Day celebrations for their social media channels. It was just a quick job, in and out, and it was kind of great. It got me thinking about how I frame and compose a shot based on the deliverable required. Lately, I've shot quite a lot for social content, which means changing the way you think about composition. I'm used to thinking about stuff kind of this kind of shape, but then for social, you bring it right in. You've got a nice narrow portrait view of your subject. And some things lend themselves really well to portrait orientation quite naturally, and other things don't really. So you have to be quite precise with your shot planning. And sometimes you just have to walk around and kind of see what lines up vertically and see what could make use of that space in the frame. And so you might see a great feature on the right and then a great feature off to the left, but you know you can never get them in the same frame together. So you kind of have to adapt. You kind of have to do quite a lot of styling to try and make everything fit. So for instance, at this location the other day, I was busy unplugging TVs and like moving furniture out of the way, and I'm not really sure that was a remit, but in order to get everything in frame that needed to be in frame, kind of had to rearrange the feng shui of the place. But that was fine, it was fun, it was part of the job. So what I'm going to do today is take you through some of the shots from the day and kind of talk you through what it is that's going through my mind when I'm looking at a subject or looking at a scene, and hopefully be able to point out some of the details from the shot that show how considerate and careful a cinematographer I am. We'll see. Looking at this shot, the first thing I'm thinking about is how I've got the vertical column in the center of the frame for my composition. So straight away, that's Goodbye Flowers. I'm very pleased with the steam coming off the cup. That's actually quite hard to capture depending on the lighting. To ensure my work has a cinematic aesthetic, I'll often shoot into the light source. So in this case, I get the blown out edges around that window frame, but also I'm getting the reflection of that light in the countertop, and it's just accenting the blueberries and pancake really nicely. For this shot I composed by thirds, and those huge windows giving really nice accent lighting to the fork and the edge of the pancakes and blueberries. And there's still a bit of steam left coming off the mug as well, which I'm pleased about. I often try and think about my shots in 3D, so in 3 zones: foreground, subject and background. And kind of having a foreground that ties into the background adds context to the shot and kind of all makes it make a bit of sense. Another technique I like to use is to invert the focus, kind of a reverse establishing shot, to make the subject out of focus and to contextualize it. But for the type of projects I work on, that often means using landscape.
The feeling is all gone. The feeling is all gone.
I think that could be it for today. I'm going to clean up my stuff and make sure it's not in the way of the carpenters, and then admire their handiwork. See you again. Bye.
Show you what I wish I knew. My will is strong with a place to lean. In the moment I hung desperately. The other ring on my wrist is gold.